Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. It's Monday the 28th of December. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget that if you'd like us to send you an email when these videos are updated, just send a blank email to generalweather-subscribe at weatherweb.net, generalweather-subscribe at weatherweb.net, and we'll be only too happy to send you a quick email when we update the videos. Now, you'll have to forgive me today. This is going to be a bit of a rant. Flood rant, you may want to call it. Now, I should start off by saying in no way does this detract from the serious situation that the people of York and across northwest England are finding themselves. Such a desperate situation, and flooding is horrendous when it hits. Lord only knows what's going to happen across northern and western Wales, and for all I know, my house out in Wales could be affected by the rainfall that's coming through and the very strong winds during Wednesday. So this is in no way intended to detract away from the story, from the human impact caused by the heavy rain that we've seen during an undoubtedly wet December. No, what it is a rant against some of the nonsense that we're now hearing in the media. Obviously, it's Christmas, so it's a great story to report because it's easy. You just send up a reporter to film a few dinghies and a flooded pub, and kind of off you go. You know, there's very little extra that you need to do. It's a very, very cheap story to cover, and I think that's what's going on across a lot of the news. And in fact, I think the word of the week has got to be unprecedented, hasn't it? This unprecedented rainfall that's been experienced, and particularly with the York story now, and so many people familiar with York as they were, of course, and as they are with the Lake District, and that it's in northern England, and it gives the particularly some of the broadcasters who are pointed out to being too biased towards southern England, it gives them the excuse to talk about the north at length on their broadcasts. I just want to show you some of the actual statistics in a moment, and a few things that are crossing my mind, and a few question marks that are there. First up, let's get the serious stuff out of the way. This is the rainfall forecast for late Tuesday into Wednesday. So this is for Tuesday evening, from 6 o'clock Tuesday evening through to midday on Wednesday. Notice most of the rainfall coming in by then across Ireland, across western parts of Scotland as well. In it comes. And then just spot this. This is the period from midday on Wednesday through to 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. There we are again from 6 o'clock on Wednesday morning through to midday on Wednesday. Notice the really heavy rain here across southwestern parts of England, through the Irish Sea, and running up through western parts of Wales into northwest England as well. That's predicting 70 millimetres plus of rainfall, thankfully most of it across the Irish Sea during this period. And then for Wednesday afternoon, the rain passes eastwards. Yep, still some heavy rain you can see here across northwest England, across northeast England as well, and across Wales. Another 10 to 20 millimetres of rainfall falling during the course of Wednesday afternoon. So from midday up to 6 o'clock on Wednesday, yet more rainfall to come during that period. And it's not until late on that it actually clears its way eastwards, and the latter stages of Wednesday. Now, this word unprecedented fascinates me. Why are we hearing so much of it? Well, I was just taking a look at this chart. This is from the Met Office Hadley Centre observation page. This is northwest England precipitation from 1873. And the black line is the decadal filter line, so it gives us an idea as to the overall trend of rainfall. And you notice here, look, how it rose pre sort of 1930, fell off during the 1940s and 50s, came back up late 50s, early 60s, back down again. And then we've seen this kind of meandering around about average levels, but a tendency to rise during the last few years. Wettest, the wettest year was here, at 201.7 millimetres. Okay, so those are records going back to 1873. Now remember, this is the whole of northwest England. And I've always had this question over how representative actually is data when you're looking at a whole region. So this is the data from this month, so from December 2015. And what we're looking at here is the average, which is the yellow, the previous maximum, which is this one running up here. And then we're looking at the red line here, which is the average. And this, the blue line running up here, is the month so far. So even up to the 26th of December, we'd seen 230% of normal rainfall, 243 millimetres. That smashed the previous maximum total in 1986 of 202 millimetres. Now, with more rainfall to come, you could probably expect that figure for northwest England could well get near the 300 millimetre mark by the time we're getting to the end of the month, given the heavy rain that's coming through on Wednesday. Perhaps not that much. Let's go perhaps nearer sort of 280. Okay, now normally, yeah, you would expect to see, if you do get a wet month, you'd expect to see sort of lines running up here, you know, that sort of area. This is just extreme. This is extraordinary amounts of rainfall when we're looking at records going back to 1873. So I wanted to know what stations are actually used within this northwest England region, and the nearest I've been able to get to is a climate memorandum from the Met Office. I'm hoping you can see this chart. These are the long time reporting stations that went into the UK climatological record as of 2010, and the northwest of England area covers that area just in there. So we're looking at that sort of area, including, you notice, North Wales. Now, spot that there are no stations in here, and there's only one here in the far northwest of England, nothing in over the high ground of Cumbria. Now, they did a realignment of stations and a re-evaluation of stations. So from 2011, that's the station coverage that we get. So suddenly we have stations in long-term station now for North Wales, a couple in there. We've also got Lake District covered quite well. Actually, the distribution of stations, you could argue, on that map is far better. Now, I'm not questioning the mathematical techniques that were used by the Met Office. These are Met Office maps, and you can do a search for the Climate Memorandum and find those maps on their website. So this isn't questioning their methods at all, but they went back and they reassessed rainfall amounts. Now, my argument is that if you're making a reassessment over a region and then including hill stations that weren't there before and stations prone to high levels of rainfall, you will come out with data looking more like that, less like that. Because now we're going to see a blue line that's kind of up here. So this is sort of going to shoot up there. And yeah, you can get wet months, you can get outliers, but that sort of outlier is way out of what you would call the normal range running through here. So they may be correct, it may be right, the data may be there, and it may be that we've seen an exceptional kind of biblical style amount of rainfall across northwest England. And I know that if you were there, it was incredibly wet. But if the statistics scream that something doesn't look right, then it tends to suggest usually that it isn't right. And looking at this data as we are now, I don't know whether for you that kind of stands out a little bit as being out of the ordinary if we are to see a figure sitting somewhere up here come the end of the month. If you went to 300 millimetres, it would be off the page. So it just worries me and it troubles me that we're enabling this data to get out there. And let's just remind ourselves of this picture. This was 2012 in York. This was 1892 in York. So I heard a guy interviewed on the radio, a resident of York, who, yeah, it must be absolutely awful to have flooding in his home. But he said, I've lived in York for 19 years and this is the worst flooding that I can ever remember. Two problems with that statement. 19 years is absolutely nothing. Remember the floods of 2012? the floods of 2000, which were reputed to be worse than the floods of 1695. I'm sure somebody will correct me, but certainly the late 1600s. So it ain't the worst floods in York, and York does flood. It's on a floodplain. That's exactly what happens in York, and York does tend to flood, as does northwest England. And I think there are many, many other questions around this story, such as where are we building? What's going on upstream? Far more than just being able to take the easy way out of stating that, oh, it's climate change, and what do you expect? And actually, talking of what do you expect, well, given this chart, this is the jet stream for the 30th, and there is screaming in as a southwesterly jet over water which is warmer than normal. That's the sea surface anomaly chart. So that southwesterly is coming up here, having been fed across colder water here, and of course as we pick up more moisture, because warmer air can hold more moisture, it picks it up, it transports it northwards where it cools down, and the thing just gets wrung out like a sponge. So if you've got that happening, those are the perfect scenarios, the perfect recipe for us to get these sorts of conditions. So as awful as it is, when you're hearing talk of heavy rain across York, across northwest England over the next few days, and feeling for those poor folks of whom it troubles and who are facing the wrath of the rainfall this winter, just think back to that chart and to that chart and think to yourselves, does that look outside ordinary bounds? As I say, this is no criticism of the Met Office, but I think it is something we need to go back to and have a look at our data. I think the only way that you can truly compare month-on-month rainfall data is from the same station. Now, to get a station with a record longer than 30 years is hard enough. 100 years is nearly impossible. But I do think that's just about the only way that you can do it, particularly when we're dealing with some of these hilly locations or locations that are prone to rainfall. That really is the only way that it's possible to accurately say, well, this is the worst or the heaviest rainfall since X, Y, and Z. So it was a semi-rant, wasn't it? My apologies if I've kind of gone on, but I wanted to really make the point there of questioning what we're seeing put in front of us. And if you're a journalist, please don't use this word unprecedented, because it's not. Please don't use record-breaking, and don't try and link it back to climate change or El Nino, because it's impossible to link these events in with the heavy rainfall that we've seen. You could just say, this is what happens during a mild December. Sorry, folks, if you're affected by it, and I'm not making light of you being affected by flooding at all, but it's kind of what happens in the UK, where you're prone to flooding during wet winter months. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that for now, but whatever you're doing, you can get all the latest information from weatherweb.net, and have a great day. Keep the sun shining if you can. Get ready for the rain and for the wind on Wednesday, and bye for now.